Yo, so there's something that has been sitting right in front of us the entire time, and everybody chooses to ignore it. Drake has been openly admitting on his albums for the past decade that OVO is not just a music label, but it is actually a criminal organization and a gang. The crazy part is that Drake has been so explicit about this in his lyrics that you would think everyone would understand what he is saying, but people just see him as a billionaire rapper instead of what he actually might be, which is the leader of one of Toronto's most dangerous street gangs. The comparison would be like if Michael Jackson was actually the leader of the Rollin' 60s Crips. When you go to Reddit forums dedicated to Toronto gang culture, you will see pictures of Drake standing with some of the most notorious gangsters in Toronto's history. He is documented as being affiliated with the G-Way gang, also known as the Galloway Boys. And he appears in photos with members from multiple dangerous crews across Toronto. But here's the thing that most people do not understand. This is not just speculation or internet conspiracy, because Drake himself has laid out his entire gang structure and his affiliations openly in his music. He has repeatedly admitted
Man, it's your boy P Rain, reps up, hailing from Canada, Toronto. I'm all the way in Vancouver, BC, with your boy, the Archivist. Holla.
to being a real-life mob boss and a gang leader through explicit lyrics on multiple albums. He has even explained the gang hand signs. He has named the specific members who work for him. He has referenced actual murders and criminal activity. And he has done all of this on chart-topping albums that millions of people listen to. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and check out my other videos. Alright, let's get into this. On Drake's newest album, Iceman, he included a song called Plot Twist, where he boasts extensively about his position as the leader of a criminal organization. Drake opens the song by directly hinting at what the entire track is about, assuring listeners that OVO is just a label. He then reflects on how, by the grace of God, he was able to escape the streets and avoid ending up in front of racist judges, so he could make billions from music. But then Drake reveals that this is all actually a cover and that OVO is genuinely a gang.
Definitely, to me, the craziest neighborhood in the country, as far as Canada goes. Especially events that took place here. I've never seen it happen anywhere else in Canada on that magnitude. It's like violence, and just like publicity, negative publicity and shit that we've got. And that's nothing to be proud of, or just say, oh, we're the baddest neighborhood in the country, but that's just what it was. As far as you could Google Galloway and see like where we come from, what's happened there, you know?
So many used to stand up there in the nighttime just so that when the police were driving by Kingston Road, you couldn't see them. And they were hustling, looking for the fiends walking by up and down. A lot of prostitutes and fiends walking up and down this strip right here. Because before they built all these townhouses, there was a lot of motels, a lot of shit that brought a lot of crackheads through. So they used to just stay out here all night and wait for who to walk by or whatever. And if you stood right in there, police really couldn't see you no matter how slow they were going, because all the branches and shit were like camouflage. So I remember they came through one day and just shot this whole bitch down. That's why you don't see no branches no more, so that they can see anybody.
He even ends the song with the skit from Ben the Don, who says the OVO necklace Drake gave him is a symbol of gang membership. Drake brags about staying laid back because he has hot-headed members around him who want revenge after Kendrick Lamar's humiliating Not Like Us diss track. Drake references Tory Lanez, the Canadian rapper, jailed for shooting Megan Thee Stallion, and says "Free Greasy," referring to an infamous former G-Way leader. Later, Drake raps that if you do not know the G-Way gang handshake, then he simply cannot trust you. The hook of the song is essentially Drake confirming to the world that OVO is indeed a gang. Drake raps about someone twisting up their fingers, throwing up gang signs, gang banging on him, which is a metaphorical reference to his beef with Kendrick Lamar and his ties to the blood gangs of Compton. Drake responds by throwing up gang signs back, saying he does not know the signs Kendrick is throwing up, and that Kendrick's gang symbols mean nothing to him. Drake explains that he is throwing up the 6 representing Toronto while twisting the R as a tribute to another Toronto gang set known as Rips Up. This was allegedly formed by OVO veteran members named Styles and P. If you look at how Drake throws up the 6 with a split finger at the top, creating a bunny ear effect, that is intentional, because it actually creates the letter R standing for Reps Up. This gang sign appears on the cover of the Iceman album, which, if flipped vertically, shows Drake throwing up the Reps Up gang sign perfectly while wearing Michael Jackson's actual original sequin glove that Drake apparently purchased for $120,000. Subscribe, because on Plot Twist, Drake also shouts out other gang ties from different cities, including his connects from Houston, known as Mob Ties, which is the new generation of Rap-A-Lot, the infamous label started by JR Sr. Drake then ends the hook confirming that OVO is actually a gang that brings power from all these crews together. While Drake's OVO has connections in Houston and elsewhere in America, it is really in Toronto where Drake's actual operations are based. To understand how Drake ended up surrounded by these dangerous people, we need to rewind the clock and examine the violent, dark history of Toronto's streets and the true story of the G-Way gang. On July 16, 2012, more than 200 people gathered at a block party that started as a children's barbecue. Suddenly, gunshots rang out, turning the celebration into chaos, with 2 people dead and more than 20 wounded. This was one of the worst mass shootings in Toronto's history. To understand how this happened, we need to go back much further because this was the latest chapter in a conflict involving one of Toronto's most notorious street gangs, the G-Way, also called the Galloway Boys. During the 1990s, a boy named Tyan Riley, known as Nitty, was growing up in the Scarborough area around Galloway Road and Kingston Road. He looked up to gangsters in his neighborhood and eventually started a gang called the Bad Seeds, picking up the nickname Greasy Money. At this time, the Galloway area was controlled by a gang called Get Mad Crew, led by Omar Demetrius, known as O, but coming into the 2000s, a major beef formed between G-Way dealers and dealers from nearby Malvern, who were trying to expand.
We met through some mutual friends, from guys that we went to high school with and things like that. I mean, I had a friend that he knew, so we met like before I even knew he was a rapper, when he was still on Degrassi, things like that. We became close friends. We just clicked, and everybody used to just go out together and like that. So naturally, me being that I was rapping and him starting to rap, musically, it kind of just came together. But
he would also explain the formation of Reps Up, explaining how it started as a rap group that he came up with while still in high school with his friends. One of the early pioneers of Reps Up was also Styles, another longtime member affiliated with Drake's OVO crew. But as time went on, Reps Up grew into a much larger collective, bringing together people from Galloway and the surrounding community under the same banner.
And for the people that don't know, tell us about Reps Up.
Man, Reps Up is just something that I created when I was still in high school with a few homies. We used to be a rap group actually before Chubbs. Chubbs used to live in the States, so I used to be in a rap group with my cousin and one of my best friends, Styles, and we were called the Reps. You know what I mean? And Reps Up is just something we used to say. It was like a slogan, like throw your reps up when you make the R's with your fingers. But I mean, people just kind of gravitated towards Reps Up more than the reps. And that slogan kind of became our name, so we stuck with it. Yeah, we stuck with it and we ran with it. But I mean, it's like a family, man. It's the people from my neighborhood, guys I've grown up with, my family.
And their operation into G-Way territory. When Omar Demetrius fled to Jamaica after shooting a man in 1999, leadership fell to his close friend Norris Allen, known as Bolu. On October 10, 2002, Allen parked his black Honda in rival Malvern territory. 3 gunmen emerged and opened fire, leaving Allen slumped over in the driver's seat. Allen's killing was a turning point because Tyan Riley, just weeks away from his 20th birthday, determined to retaliate, took charge of the gang and renamed it the Throwbacks in honor of Allen, with the mission to make Malvern members suffer the same fate. Only weeks later, on November 2nd, 23-year-old Eric Matasma was found gunned down in Malvern territory. Subscribe because the rivalry continued for 2 years until March 24, when it reached a breaking point. Tyan Riley allegedly set out to target Malvern gang members, but during the attempted get-back, they opened fire on a car carrying 2 innocent men, Brenton Charlton and Leonard Bell. Riley allegedly killed Charlton and seriously wounded Bell. This incident triggered Toronto police to call in the Canadian Federal Police, the RCMP, to assist. In May, a massive raid resulted in 65 arrests of alleged Malvern crew members. In October, Riley was arrested and charged with murder and attempted murder. Over a dozen other G-Way members were arrested as part of Operation Pathfinder, named after the Nissan Pathfinder allegedly used during the shooting. Police claimed G-Way had planned to target innocent victims on purpose to throw off law enforcement. The court cases lasted through the 2000s until 2009, when Riley and his alleged accomplices, Philip Atkins and Jason Wisdom, were found guilty of murdering Brenton Charlton. These became the first convictions in Canada of a murder committed for the benefit of a criminal street gang. Riley faced charges for 2 additional murders, with police alleging he was involved in as many as 4 more murders. Despite his dire situation, Riley began dropping music from prison, rapping under the artist name Greasy Money about selling coke and street life. Around the same time, Drake was releasing his debut album Thank Me Later. Only 4 years later, Drake shouted out Greasy Money on the song Scheming Up with rapper Obi O'Brien, calling for his freedom, signaling that Drake was affiliated with the G-Way gang. In 2012, a new generation of G-Way committed murders and shootings. Author and reporter Betsy Powell had released her book The Bad Seeds. the true story of Toronto's Galloway Boy Street gang, documenting the gang's violent history. By 2012, with numerous shootings and murders occurring, the new generation members of G-Way spawned many who would later become associated with Drake's OVO crew. In late 2011, Dimitri Barnaby, an innocent man, was murdered allegedly by new generation G-Way members. This triggered Operation Brazen, but things got truly out of control during the infamous July 2012 Danzig Street mass shooting. Danzig Street is located just a few hundred yards from G-Way's home base, meaning numerous gang members attended the party. According to police, the shooting originated from G-Way members taking over the party and G checking people to ensure there were no outsiders, especially Malvin crew members. When Malvin members were found and kicked out, they allegedly returned with reinforcements, leading to the tragic mass shooting. Police revealed that new generation G-Way members were connected to 3 murders, including 2 victims of the mass shooting, plus 7 shootings dating back to summer 2011. Drake referenced these incidents in his music and notably devoted an entire verse to paying tribute to the victims on the 2013 song No Guns Allowed by Snoop Dogg. Eventually, 3 people were charged and convicted. Nahom Czab, also called Gifted, pleaded guilty to 2 counts of manslaughter and 6 counts of aggravated assault, receiving 14 years. Shaquan Mosquito, known as Bam Bam, had murder charges dropped but pleaded guilty to 4 charges, including counseling 2 people to commit murder. Florenzo Ausu, who was just 17 at the time, was convicted on 2 counts of second-degree murder, 1 count of attempted murder, and 1 count of aggravated assault, receiving a life sentence in 2016. Subscribe, because alongside G-Way there is another Toronto crew with serious ties to Drake known as Reps Up. Reps Up started in the late 2000s from G-Way's hood and became a separate entity. One of their most known members is rapper P, formerly known as P Rain, whose oldest music videos go back to 2009. P can be seen repping Up in interviews from 2010 onward. In 2014, P dropped a hood vlog discussing the violent history of Galloway, explaining how the gang scene died down due to a police station built in the mid-2000s. P's mixtape, Dear America,
like the recent events that happened like last summer and everything like that. I won't get too much into details with it, bore you with that, because you don't care about that too much. But how is it for you to hear all the noise that people were saying, right? People were just talking about stuff that they don't even know about, saying, oh, Ray, this, whatever.
Yeah.
How did you keep your composure and stay calm?
Yo, to be honest with you, man, at first, my first initial thing was to respond and respond quickly, very efficiently, and very to the point.
Very directly.
Yeah, and you know, but like it was like it started brewing in me because where I come from, like that doesn't happen. Like you can't just call out a man and not have paperwork to back up your talks. Like that is it's ludicrous. And then like to see like a whole nation behind it and celebrating it like it's a true story is unbelievable, because you know, everybody has to understand, like I have a kid, Drake has a kid, you know what I mean? So like making accusations like that are like ridiculous and out of this world, you know what I'm saying? So, but like what I was gonna tell you is this, like I was building up a lot of anger and stuff like that, but then I got a call and I don't know why I got this call. It's like God said something to him or something, but the boy, sorry, it might not have been a call, it might have been a text message, but he messaged me and he's like, yo, I know what you're feeling, I know you as an individual, and I know how you get down, but I'm just letting you know, like, don't listen to the noise, because it's noise. And if you go back and look at all these people that are saying things or having anything to say, they're not even actual real people, they're like bots. So like, don't let that bother you.
It featured numerous mainstream rappers, including Meek Mill, French Montana, A$AP Rocky, Future, and Drake. In a 2015 interview, P explained his friendship with Drake came through mutual friends from high school when Drake was still an actor on Degrassi. P explained that Reps Up started as a rap group he created in high school with friends including his cousin and his best friend Styles. The slogan, "Throw your reps up, making R's with your fingers," became their group name. Before OVO, there was a crew called ATF that both Drake and P repped, standing for All Things Fresh, though the initials matched the federal agency ATF. Drake mentioned repping ATF on his 28th song Ransom, saying he was not gangbanging, but he repped ATF, and that unlike the real ATF, you would not catch him wearing a badge. Drake continued repping ATF on his 2010 album Thank Me Later, but the Reps Up name ultimately stuck. Now, perhaps the most mysterious member of Drake's OVO crew is a man known as Chubbs, or sometimes Capo. He is widely considered Drake's head of security and most feared member. Chubbs is extremely careful to avoid public interviews and exposure. According to P, Chubbs was living in America when P and friends created Reps Up in high school, meaning his addition to G-Way gang ties came much later. What we know about Chubbs primarily comes from Drake's music, where he mentions Chubbs countless times painting him as his head of security and top shooter ready for crash-out missions. Drake mentions Chubbs as far back as 2011, painting him as someone in love with the streets. On the 2013 track, The Motion, Drake highlights their friendship goes way back. Following the hugely successful 2016 album Views, Drake portrayed Chubbs as always by his side on the song 4 p.m. in Calabasas. On the 2017 track, No Long Talk, Drake describes Chubbs as a fixer. Then on the hugely popular 2018 track Look Alive, featuring Drake and Blockboy JB, Drake mentions Chubbs by his nickname Capo, suggesting he is a specialist in street stuff like sliding on the ops. Drake would even mention Chubbs in connection with alleged real-life events like the 2018 Behind Bars track, where he mentions being with Chubbs through highs and lows before mentioning how they saw a man last night who froze out of fear with no cameras present. This allegedly refers to a violent altercation at 2017 Coachella, where Drake and his crew, including Chubbs, allegedly had a violent brawl with rapper D-Ram, after D-Ram confronted Drake about similarities between their songs. According to witnesses present, apparently the OVO crew literally swung D-Ram around by his dreads with Drake personally, throwing hands in the brawl. In 2019, Drake rapped in the song War about how feds want to tap up and wire his phones just like Chubbs did Detail, referring to a lawsuit where producer Detail claimed Chubbs beat him up on Drake's orders, sending him to the hospital with a broken jaw requiring wiring and several surgeries. The lawsuit was later suspiciously thrown out because Detail failed to appear at the final status conference. In 2020, Drake released Too Clear Slide, which metaphorically references street activity. The music video shows Drake walking around his Toronto mansion in a Nike ski mask, rapping about how he and his crew will do crimes themselves if people are moving shaky. Drake says if he is moving too shaky to shoot, then Chubbs will finish the mission by himself. Subscribe, because another controversial member of Drake's inner circle is Baka, also known as Baka Not Nice, who was part of Drake's security and has ties to G-Way and Reps Up. Unlike Chubbs, Baka released his own music for close to 10 years with millions of views and featured on Drake's songs several times. Drake shouted out Baka on the 2014 track Scheming Up while calling for freedom of former G-Way leader Greasy Money. Born in 1979, Baka eventually moved to Toronto to a hood affiliated with G-Way and Reps Up. In podcast, Baka explained how he and his partners went on a crime spree around age 18 doing robberies. He eventually got caught and received a 2-year and 7-month sentence. After release in 21, he was convicted of attempted murder, receiving 13 years. He appealed and was released in 25. In 26, he was busted with guns and drugs, receiving 19 firearms and drug charges. In 27, he was charged in a case involving the original G-Way leader, Omar Demetrius, who had fled to Jamaica in 1999, but snuck back into Canada. Baka was charged alongside him. Baka's most controversial case came in 2014 when he was already part of Drake's security. He was arrested and charged with prosecution and trafficking involving a 22-year-old woman. In 2015, he pleaded guilty to assaulting the woman, receiving 6 months, but was released immediately since he had already served 10 months in jail. Drake celebrated Baka's release on Instagram, saying something was in the air that day, with good things happening, and that Baka being home meant the most after waiting 11 months. About a year later, Baka transitioned from security to a rapper, signing to Drake's OVO label. By 2017, his song Live Up to My Name had 16 million YouTube views, showing him enjoying the high life in Los Angeles, wearing a sweater with a golden OVO logo. The video featured appearances from Swaley Slim, Jimmy Nav, and The Weeknd, who was still associated with OVO at that point. Unfortunately, 2017 was tragic for Drake OVO. Reps Up and G-Way, when a main member called Fifth, with real name Anthony Soares, was gunned down on September 14th in what appeared to be a targeted assassination. Drake posted a heartfelt tribute on Instagram, saying RIP to one of their family members and their brother, that he could not believe that morning was real and it was an honor to share years together, and he will always keep his memory alive. Drake even served as a pallbearer at Fifth's funeral 2 weeks later, showing genuine connection. Police released security camera footage showing 2 shooters running up to Fifth inside a high-rise lobby. They opened fire, shooting him numerous times. Then one opened the door and shot more to guarantee the kill, then wiped the door to remove fingerprints before both shooters ran to a getaway car that quickly fled. Despite police efforts, Fifth's murder remains unsolved, though the calculated manner clearly indicates a targeted gang-related hit. In 2024, when Kendrick Lamar released his chart-topping diss song, Not Like Us, Kendrick targeted Drake and OVO members like Chubbs and most notably Baka. The song accused Drake and OVO of inappropriate behavior with young women, with lines like a minor certified lover boy, certified PDF say Drake, "I hear you like him. Young Baka got a weird case. Why is he around?" Baka later responded in an interview saying he wanted to respond immediately, but Drake convinced him not to. Baka explained that where he comes from, you cannot just call out a man without paperwork to back up your words, and that making such accusations were ridiculous and out of this world, especially when they both have kids. Subscribe because among the new generation of G-Way is rapper Lil C, who appears in music videos hanging out in front of the high-rise where G-Way originated on the corner of Galloway and Kingston Roads. His videos feature other gang presence like G-Way tags on walls, like UK drill artists. Lil C is often masked up in his videos, hiding his real identity likely due to illegal activities or to build mystery around his music career. Lil C and his partners hint that Drake and OVO affiliation, making Instagram posts with Drake's Plot Twist song, where Drake raps about the G-Way handshake with Lil C, showing the world how that shake is actually done. Lil C is followed by older G-Way and Reps Up members who are main people in Drake's OVO crew, including Drake's alleged top shooter Chubbs. This suggests Drake's lyrics about having young masked up shooters ready to crash out for him are not just cap knowing this history. The question remains, is OVO really a gang? While many people associated with OVO, including Drake's inner circle, clearly have ties to gangs and criminal activity, officially OVO is famous as a music label brand and business rather than a criminal organization. However, this does not let Drake off the hook because throughout his career, he has repeatedly aligned himself with individuals whose backgrounds involve serious criminal activity. Drake has continued demanding freedom for Ty Riley, also called Greasy Money, whose freedom Drake demands in his songs and who police link to the murder of innocent bystander Brenton Charlton, plus 6 other murders and numerous attempted murders. There's Baka, whose long criminal history includes violent crimes and highly problematic charges related to prosecution and trafficking. Beyond those are apparent connections between Drake's inner circle and the newer generation of G-Way members who seemingly remain active on Toronto streets today. Drake has surrounded himself with an extraordinary number of people connected to serious criminal allegations and gang activity. As long as these relationships continue, there is always the possibility that future investigations could find Drake entangled in a criminal RICO takedown. If that day comes, it really would not be surprising to see police raiding the embassy and prosecutors arguing that OVO is not a record label or lifestyle brand, but is indeed a criminal organization with Drake at the very top. Peace.